Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're having a great day. Well, today is my last day in New Zealand, my last full day. I check out of where I'm at tomorrow morning, need to be out of here by 10, catch a flight at 3 o'clock off to Australia. And so I thought I'd do a little wrap up here. New Zealand's a nice place to visit. It has a lot of great stuff. I've got some notes here about driving that I'm going to go ahead and go through, so I will be referring to those every now and then so I don't forget anything. First off, one of the things I really notice is that there are a lot of restrooms here in New Zealand. Just about every town, except for the really small ones that have population 50, they all had public restrooms. And many of the smaller communities, not only did they have the restrooms, but they had the restrooms next to a nice park. Some of them had them next to a park and an area where if you're in a camper, you could camp. And so the restrooms here are very handy to get to. Speed, when you're driving around, speed. Do not speed in New Zealand. Do not speed. They have traffic cameras all over the place. I spoke with one gentleman, but before I started, he got nailed for 7 kilometers over the speed limit, got a ticket. And so be sure to stay below. I noticed that most of the Kiwis that I'm following, they're about 5 kilometers below the speed limit. And so I mirrored that and made it through my stay here unscathed. A little side note. I don't know about Australia and England, but New Zealand has these yummy, yummy pies. And they're stuffed. They're just small little pies. They're only about that big. And they're stuffed with great stuff. And they have all kinds of different flavors and fillings. And they are really yummy. If you come to New Zealand, you need to try them out. Back to the roads. The roads here are 2-lane for the most part, except for in the big towns like Christchurch, Auckland, and the other big towns. They are narrow, 2-lane, twisty-turny roads. They don't have a really big shoulder, although they do have a lot of passing lanes, and they have signs that say, passing lanes 2 kilometers, passing lane 1 kilometer, so you have an idea of when you can go ahead and pass some of the lower traffic. And it is really courteous here to get over on that left-hand lane, because remember, in New Zealand, you are driving on the left-hand side of the road, and the driver's seat is on the right-hand side of the vehicle. And so you want to get over to the left so if there's anyone behind you to pass. Or if you're going to pass, you want to pass and get back into the left lane as quickly as possible. You also are going to run into 1-lane bridges. When you get into some of the more rural, or not even so rural, but on the 2 lanes, you're going to run into 2 single-lane bridges. Now, when you come to a single-lane bridge, you'll see a sign there, and it has 2 arrows. One is typically white, the other one's black, or it could be red and black, something along that line. And one side is the give way side. That's the side that has the right of way. And so when you come up to that 1-lane bridge, if you are on the side that says give way, you need to look down that bridge. Well, even if you're on the other side, you want to look down the bridge and make sure no one's coming. And then when it's clear, go ahead and proceed. When you're coming into towns, they have absolutely huge, huge signs. They're like 4 feet across, 10 feet down, but they have the speed limit, and they expect you to be going that speed limit by the time you hit that sign. If you're going past the speed limit, by the time you pass that sign, there's a really good chance you're going to get yourself a ticket. And they ticket electronically, and so if you have a rental, they send it to the rental. The rental company will then send the fine to you. The roads here are in good condition. There's just a few little spots out on the coast where the road was a little bit rough, but for the most part, the roads were in pretty good condition. And along the roads, you'll find picnic tables. So many, many places where you can pull over and picnic. And in some of those places, you can stay overnight as well. The fuel here is by the liter. As of October 2024, when I filmed this, A liter was going for about $2.65 a liter. Now, in US terms, there's 3.785 liters to a gallon. And so when you multiply that $2.65 times 3.785, you come up with a total of $10.03 a gallon for fuel. So one of my biggest expenses so far has been fuel. The national speed limit here is 100 miles per hour. And so if you're on an unmarked road, speed limit's 100 miles an hour, unless it's otherwise marked. And the citizens here, they will report you. If they think something's going on, they will report you. Another interesting thing here is that they grow these huge hedges. These hedges that outline the property, they're like 30, 40 feet high. They are just huge hedges, very impressive. And then many of the fields where they're growing some of the crops, could be grapes, could be avocados, any of the other growing viney types of things, they completely enclose the whole field in netting. And so top, bottom, sides, everything's enclosed. Okay, I need to turn the page. So let me turn my page here. Come on, fingers work. Okay, my page 2 of my notes. The country has what's called freedom camping. And basically that means you're free to camp wherever you want, but there are exceptions. You'll see that there's different towns that have freedom camping, no freedom camping here. If you're someone that's going to rent a camper type, if you rent a self-contained camper, you have many more options than if you rent a camper that is not self-contained, like the one that I have. The one that I have does not have a toilet, so it is not self-contained. So I am more restricted where I can park legally. If you have the self-contained, you have many more options. And so New Zealand really wants you to camp. They're open to that. They're very outdoorsy people. They hike, they camp, they just enjoy weather, and they enjoy their nature. It's a fabulous place. Okay, and I talked about this, how some of the towns actually have, when I talked about the restrooms next to a park, then they'll have a place there where you can park, and they'll even let vehicles like mine that are not self-contained park there because you're right next to a restroom. And it's typically close to the downtown area so that you can then shop downtown. I stayed in one place for a couple of days and I got to know the town really well, and it was a really nice experience. Holiday parks. Holiday parks are like your KOAs in the United States, but they're different. One of the big differences is that they have communal kitchens, and depending on the holiday park that you're at, depends on how many supplies are within there. So far, every holiday camp I've had, they've had cooking supplies, pots, pans, spatulas, things like that. Some of them have had dishes and silverware that you could use, and the people that are familiar with this, they'll bring all their cooking gear, they'll bring their salads and their food, and they'll cook it up, and they'll fix up their table and have a really nice meal there in the kitchens. Me, on the other hand, not so good at meals. I'm looking at everybody else and going, boy, I gotta up my meal intake on these trips. They also have communal showers and lounges. That's what I'm in right now. It's a lounge in one of the holiday parks. Most of them have washer and dryers for a fee, and almost all of them have internet of some sort. And this is a little bit tricky, where some of the holiday parks, they have internet, but you have to pay in order to use them. Some of them have tickets where you get a voucher, and you can be on the internet so long, and then that runs out, and you need to buy time. Some have it free, but the reception is really bad. It's almost close to dial-up speed. It gets a little bit frustrating for people that are used to faster internet. And so you want to be sure to check what type of internet they have. I've seen often where they're advertised that they have free internet and no limit internet, and those are the types of things you may want to look for. Coffee's interesting. A regular cup of coffee is called a black tall. Now, if you're someone that likes cream or milk in your sugar, that's going to be a black white. And they also have espressos and things of that nature. And so it's been kind of enjoyable for me to try their different coffees that they've had here in the morning. Then another thing about with New Zealand is that historically, when New Zealand developed, before man got here, the animals developed in a different way. Most of the birds here don't fly. And so several of the birds actually have already become extinct. And so New Zealand is really working hard to eradicate some of the invasive species that have come to the islands by way of man. Their biggest worries are the rats, the ferrets, and then what they call a possum. Now, a possum here is a small animal about the size of a U.S. possum, but they're different. These possums are furry animals with furry tails. They are not the gray types of possums that we're used to in the United States, and so they're a little bit different. And then recreation. Fishing looks like it'd be great here. I didn't do any fishing. Biking, lots of biking trails, and developed biking trails and paths and things of that nature, as well with hiking. Many different hiking trails, well developed, well labeled. And so New Zealand really helps the people get out and enjoy nature, find themselves, bike, hike, fish, just get out there and enjoy. And of course, take care of the environment. I see very little litter here. Most of your campgrounds are well cleaned. The roads are clean. And that's because everyone pulls their weight. They take care of, they don't throw stuff out the window. And so please respect that when you come to New Zealand. And I'll put a couple of links down below in the comments section where you can follow along and with freedom camping and the rules of the road, places where you can bike and hike, things of that nature. So thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for subscribing, and may all your seas be calm.